Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Rising of Bodhisattvas. I'm Nancy, the founder of International Buddha Dharma Society for Cosmic Law in America. Today, we will talk about one basic but essential concept of Buddha Dharma, Chan. We will talk about the very famous flower sermon. In modern Western society, most people call Chan Zen. I personally prefer Chan because the word Zen evolved from the word Chan, and over time its meaning may have been changed. What is Chan? People often say that Chan cannot be taught. Chan is inconceivable and cannot be described by any language. Chan is not in the same realm as thinking or speaking, even though Chan is beyond any language and cannot be completely described. We can still try to understand it with the help of words. Let's see how different people describe Chan. Some people say Chan is a quiet heart, plain and immaculate, returned to the self-nature. Some say Chan is after seeing through life, one sees great wisdom. This is Chan. Others say all the afflictions one has are incurred by oneself. When the heart is bent and becomes empty and not attached to anything, it will be like a cup emptied out of afflictions. The heart will be quiet and in peace. If one's heart is like a lotus and the sun and the moon, detached, non-discriminatory, with no intent to give or obtain, with no love or hatred, then one will be happy and peaceful. Water flows downhill and cloud flows in the sky. Everything happens harmoniously, and this is the usual mind. Keep a usual mind. Life is just like the floating cloud and the flowing water. Returning to the true self is seeing through life, and this is Chan. From these descriptions, we can taste what is Chan and sense what is Chan. Chan is a state of consciousness high beyond human's logical mind. Where did Chan come from? Let's track the source of Chan from Buddha's teaching. Chan Dharma was first mentioned in the sutra, the Buddha answering the king of Brahma's questions. Though it may not be the first time that the Buddha demonstrated the Chan Dharma. The sutra says, the king of Brahma, whose name was Fan Guang, offered a bright and wonderful lotus flower, magically born with the worlds of the Trikilocosm as roots, to the Buddha. After he did that, the king of Brahma backed off and bowed to the Buddha. World Honored One, since you got enlightened 50 years ago, you have been transforming all the living beings with all kinds of teachings and skills. If there's still Supreme Buddha Dharma unrevealed, please expound for me and all those who will practice the Bodhisattva path and the Buddha path in the future. After the king of Brahma said this, he transformed his body to a Dharma seat covered with a solemn heavenly coat. Then the king of Brahma earnestly requested the Buddha to sit on him to give the great Dharma talk. At that time, the Buddha walked up and sat on the Dharma seat. He gently picked up the flower with fingers without speaking any words. There were 84,000 heavenly beings and humans in the assembly. At this time, they all stopped what they were doing and remained silent. Meanwhile, the elder Mahakashyapa saw the Buddha picking up the flower with fingers and showing the great Dharma to all the heavenly beings and humans around. He silently broke into a smile. The Buddha then said, "Yes, I have proper Dharma and I treasure the wonderful heart of Nirvana, the subtle Dharma gate of form and no form. It has no establishment of words. It is a special teaching passed on not by words or doctrines. It is the first principle for worldly people to become a Buddha, and today I bestow it upon Mahakashyapa." With that said, the Buddha went back to silence. Then the Venerable Mahakashyapa arose from his seat, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and said to the Buddha, "World Honored One, this is wonderful. I remember things in the past countless kalpas. I first brought forth the resolve for Bodhi and started to cultivate when hearing Dharma from Buddha Dipamkara. And in this life, after listening to the teachings from World Honored One, I attained Arhat fruit. Then, after hearing the ultimate reality of all dharmas, I entered the Bodhisattva path and attained all kinds of wisdom close to the Buddha." Where did these wonderful wisdoms come from? In fact, they all came from the worldly people's heart of kalpas ago. The worldly people's heart of countless kalpas ago was actually the same as the heart of all Buddhas. It's the Dharma body of all Buddhas. If worldly people can see this heart, then they can become Buddhas. This heart cannot be found in speech or words understood by worldly people, but only in one's heart. Because this heart does not need meditation to attain fruition. When the cause and condition is right, anyone will sense it naturally. With this great Dharma in the world, Buddha Dharma will spread in the worldly people and never ends. If there was no this Dharma, only those saints who had cultivated long time could obtain fruition, while worldly people, bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas would not have a chance. In the turbid and evil Dharma-ending world, none out of 10 million people could attain fruition. Only the names of Buddha Bodhi exist, and nobody can really reach that. But with this great Dharma in the world, Buddha Bodhi will not end in the Dharma ending period. The Buddha said, "Good indeed, Kashyapa. As you said, all 7 Buddhas propagated Dharma in this way, seeing the self-nature to become a Buddha. All disciples of the 7 Buddhas propagated Dharma like you. After I enter Nirvana, the proper Dharma and I treasury will fall upon you. You will accept, maintain, and spread it. Look for disciples and transmit the Dharma through heart, and don't let the true Dharma end." After the Buddha explained the great true Dharma, he arose from the Dharma seat of the Brahma king and returned to his original seat and said, "King of Brahma, you have been cultivating the Bodhisattva path in the past countless kalpas, and you are high-rank Bodhisattva, and this is why you could ask for this great true Dharma. In the turbid and evil Dharma-ending world, this Buddha's heart Dharma will continue, which will be due to your prayer. Do you have any other doubt? Bring it up, and I will talk about it for you." The king of Brahma then asked, "Good indeed, World Honored One. Then let me ask you another question. Have you mentioned this great true Dharma in previous teachings?" The Buddha answered, "I have said this Dharma before. In the wonderful Dharma Lotus Flower Sutra, when I said to Shariputra, cannot be said, at that time Shariputra understood this Dharma, and so I granted him Huaguang Buddha. Also, when the daughter of the Dragon King offered me her Dragon Ball without one word, I accepted the Dragon Ball without giving her one word. The daughter of the Dragon King understood this hard Dharma and became Buddha right away. That was the same great true Dharma. The king of Brahma said, "If this is the case, world unknown, this Dharma of seeing the self-nature to become Buddha that you give today is genuine indeed." The Buddha said, "Yes, as you said, Shariputra has been with me since kalpas ago. So is in this life. I will enter Nirvana soon, and so will Shariputra. The daughter of the Dragon King has become Buddha in other world. She is not my disciple in this world, and she will not propagate my Dharma here. For you, both Shariputra and the daughter of the Dragon King do not exist. Today, only Kashyapa will propagate this true Dharma. After I enter Nirvana, this Dharma will exist and not end even in the turbid and evil Dharma ending period, or in the 500 of years after Dharma ending period. All the merits belong to Kashyapa alone. He will do this by himself, so this Dharma is the only true Dharma." After the Buddha answered more questions from the king of Brahma, the Buddha gave more explanations on this great true Dharma. The Buddha told Kashyapa, "Besides the hard Dharma of seeing the self-nature to become Buddha, there isn't any other Dharma which can make one become Buddha. All the Dharma gifts given by all Buddhas of the 3 periods of time are to lead people to this Dharma gate. All Buddhas became Buddhas through this Dharma gate, and then propagated Dharma. So will do all the living beings. If someone says, there are other Dharmas, and the Buddhas become Buddhas through other Dharma gates, and the living beings become Buddhas through other Dharma gates, this will be the demon's talk, not the 7 Buddhas' talk, not talks given by all the Buddhas of the 10 directions and 3 periods of time." The Buddha then said, "Mahakashyapa, you should know what I bestowed upon you is the 80,000 volumes of the Tripitaka. All these sutras are this one Buddha Dharma koan. Just as the ox carts and the horse carriages are to take people to where they want to go, all these sutras are tools to transform people. You can uphold reverently." At this time, Mahakashyapa rejoiced excitedly. He bowed to the Buddha and said, "World honored one, this Dharma is really difficult to meet. This is really wonderful Dharma." He then said, "After I met you, world honored one, I left the family life and became a monk. I disliked birth and death and only pursued Nirvana. I cultivated the unconditional but did not pursue for the Dharma. I knew the Dharma on paper but did not understand it. After years of difficult cultivation, I obtained the Arhat. Thinking about this process, I felt that it was not easy. Today, world honored one demonstrated the wonderful Dharma, and I understood it in the blink of an eye. It did not take years or kalpas. It was not difficult, but very easy. I did have become Buddha, and there's no doubt about it. Even though I'm not a perfectly enlightened Buddha yet, I already know that the Dharma body is the heart, and the heart is the Buddha. All the Buddhas of 10 directions and 3 periods time share the same Dharma body with me." Thinking about before, in many years I practiced what was difficult to practice. It was hard work, but there was no merit. In many years I was attached to empty and the unconditional. All those are false Dharma, not true Dharma. Today I learned the true empty Dharma. The form is empty, but not the self-nature. The body is unconditional, but the nature is perfect. All the living beings can only become Buddhas by relying on this Dharma. The Buddha told Kashyapa, "Yes, indeed, as you just said, in the future you will become Buddha and then propagate the Dharma that I give you today." After the Buddha said this, he returned to his original seat. He then remained silent and did not move even a bit. All the people and heavenly beings were also quiet, and the assembly was full of wonderful spirit. This is how Chan Dharma started. Mahakashyapa was the first one bestowed with the Chan Dharma in this world. From Mahakashyapa, Chan started to spread. From what was given today, you may sense what is Chan with your heart. Chan can never be completely described by words, and everyone may understand Chan differently due to different roots. To understand more about Chan, you may go back and read more about this part of the sutra. I hope this talk helps you understand what is Chan and how Chan first started. Chan is the basic and also the essence of Buddha Dharma. Amitabha, it's a great honor to be here with you today. Thank you. See you next time.